if people are putting in, you know, the blue blocks and whatever that you put in the cisterns to, you know, when you flush it, comes through here, they will destroy washers. But yeah, they go so brittle, they just perish all around the sides. So many people commented in our last video saying, I can't believe they're leaving the window just left like that. They're not. The glazier's coming out to put a frosted window in there. So don't worry, the window will be sorted. So just put them into position there, and then pencil mark either side. We just cut them out with the multi-tool. Right, I've put the 2 bits of pipe in there, and I've got the 2 couplers on there. Then we can just cut these 2 8mm. Now sometimes you get these things. The best thing I've found to do with these is that. Right, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is doing well. So today's video is starting off as a little bit of a jobbing video. I got called out to a toilet that was playing up, and it'll be something that we've all been called out to. We've all been there, so it's quite relevant to probably every plumber that I know, or even every DIYer. I know there's a few DIYers and just general maintenance sort of people that watch the channel. So we've got that, and then also we're back to the house with the bathroom. Now, this bathroom has sort of divided opinion. When it first went in, people were like, that's horrific, and I agree, it looks, the layout shit. Then as it's been fitted, people have gone, do you know what? It's not too bad. The whole thing with the tap in the centre was, had loads of comments on people going, should have seen that from the start. I seen it as soon as you started fitting it. Sometimes you miss the dead obvious stuff, and that is why this channel is Real World Plumbing. I'm not trying to dress it up. I'm not trying to do something, oh shit, that didn't work, let me alter it and then do it again. I'm showing you the whole sort of process of it. So appreciate all your comments, and yeah, a lot of people are now saying that bathroom doesn't look too bad now everything's gone in. So we're back there, we're finishing off there, we're moving the rad, and just because it's such a big system on that house, there's like, I think it's like 30 odd rads or something like that. I didn't want to drain it down and risk airlocking and all that. So you'll see what I do there. Also, before I go, this Unilite, as shown in my last video, is literally selling like hotcakes. If you didn't see it, so the guys at Unilite said to me, what is the best light that you use? And I would come back to them and said, it is this, the SLR 1750. Mega light, magnetic, clips to anything, it's got the carabiner on it. It's just a brilliant light, dead small, fits in the bag, and it's also got a power bank on it. Now, these retail from Unilite for, I think, a snip under 100 quid. So what Unilite are doing, if you put my code in, MJTIFF, I'll bang it in the bottom here, use my code MJTIFF, and you'll get this light for 50 quid. But they are literally selling by the bucket load because they're a bargain. You won't be able to get them cheaper than that anywhere else on Black Friday deals or anywhere. Only literally for me, because they said pick the light that you use the most. It is that. So if you want to bag yourself one of these, then use the code. I'll put a little link in the description anyway, but use the code MJTIFF and you'll get one of these SLR 1750s, and it is the go-to light for me. So let's get on with the video. So it's Friday morning, typical call out to a toilet. The customer's rung me up. It's someone I've done work for before. She's rung me up, said, Mark, the toilet's leaking. Any chance you could get out and have a look? I was like, right, okay, I'll come Friday. So in the back of your mind, you think toilet's leaking. I didn't delve too much into what was leaking, etc, etc. So I've been on the way to this job, picked up a Dudley Turbo 88 siphon, Dudley telescopic float valve, and because I envisaged it being the toilet ears, always pick up a replacement system kit, because you know full well the bolts under the bottom are going to be knackered, the cone washer's going to be knackered. So just cover your arse and stuff like that. So I've got here, spoke to the customer, she brought me into where the toilet is, and she's basically said the water's leaking into the pan. So we rip the top off, and inside we've got greeted with the ideal siphon. So we shut the water off, unclip the siphon out, obviously after flushing the system, unclip the siphon out, and we've got the typical rubber washer that's perished at the bottom. Now, there's a few reasons why these perish. I know round where I am the water's quite hard, so that doesn't help. But if people are putting in, you know, the blue blocks and whatever that you put in the cisterns to, you know, when you flush it, it comes through here, they will destroy washers. Even where it bolts into the bottom of the cistern, I've seen it eat through that. So I always tell customers, don't use that. Put one of them ones that just sits on the rim, fine, but don't use the ones that go inside the cistern. So, popped out to the van. Always keep some of them in the van. You try to keep as many spares as you can in your van, but there's always going to be a time where you go to the van and it's not the spare that you need. So, exactly what I did, went to the van, didn't have one of them, so I popped a plumb base, picked one up. In fact, I've picked a handful of them up, 3 or 4 of them, just to put in the van. So it's a fairly straightforward fix. We just pop out that clip there, take the rubber washer off, put the new one on. You always use the new clip that comes with it, and we give it a go, and hopefully that will be the problem sorted. So let's whip that washer off and get it swapped over. So these usually just unclip off, fairly straightforward. There we go, that's off. So we'll peel the washer off, and you can see all the dirt and that and crap, but yeah, they go so brittle, they just perish all around the sides. So we'll bin that one off, give that a quick wipe over to get rid of any of the old crap on top of on the bottom of the siphon. Get the new one. Now they've replaced them, as you can see, with a clear one. Now you sometimes get these clear ones, they can bubble up inside. If water ingress gets into there, they can bubble up, but for the price of them, just swap it to a new one. So pop the new one on, as I say, use the new clip, pop that in, and it's as simple and as straightforward as that. Pop it in, clip it into position. Now this is a bit of a pain because you play there we go, sorted. Right, we'll fill that up now and give it a test and make sure it's not passing through. You can even see, if you can pick that up, I'm not sure if you can pick that up, you can even see the bits of washer that are just running down the back of the pan. So let that reset. So we'll let that reset, we'll let that fill up, give it a test, make sure all is well. There we go, system full as it should be, and no dripping down the back of the pan. Perfect. So typical sort of, well, it is Friday morning, typical Friday morning jobbing job. It's nice to get little jobs like that done, dusted and out of the way. Right, I'm back at this house where we've done the bathroom, which is now turned into a little bit of a store till it's completely handed over. And while I'm here, so many people commented in our last video saying, I can't believe they're leaving the window just left like that. They're not. The glazer's coming out because he's got to put some windows downstairs. So the glazer's coming out to put a frosted window in there. So don't worry, the window will be sorted. So today, we're fitting this rad onto this wall. Now, as you may remember from earlier on, we had a rad on here, and when I went to plumb base to pick the rad up, I couldn't remember if it was 10mm or 8mm. So, always cover your arse. So I've got 2 10mm reducers and 2 8mm reducers because I wasn't sure what size it was. And what I do, especially for this, I'm going to reduce up, is that the word? I'm going to take it up to 15mm where we connect onto here so that it's coming out the floor for this rad in 15mm. I just prefer the look of it. I hate the look of microbore pipe coming out the floor into radiators. So we'll get this radiator hung. Luckily this house is on a combi. It's a big house with a load of rads. So what I think I'm going to do is pipe this rad up all the way back, get the floor up, get the pipe work all the way back to the fittings, and because this system's on a combi, just knock the pressure off the combi, drop out as much water as we can, and just make the connections straight away. There may be a little bit of water, but we'll get some towels and whatnot underneath it and have the wet vac next to it. Also, the wet vac's been fixed. The last video I think I showed, or one of the previous videos, my wet vac had begun to sound like a jet plane taking off. So dropped it to Screwfix. It was only about 11 months old. Fair play to Screwfix, sent it off to Milwaukee. 2 days later it was back, and it was the motor. Milwaukee replaced the motor in it. So fair play to them, that's done. So yeah, we'll get the wet vac out and we'll get these up and get it connected. But first off, we've got to get it hung, centre of this wall. There's no plug sockets. Centre of this wall, and we'll get it on and some floorboards up and get some pipes into position. When it comes to hanging radiators, I always put a little mark in the centre there, centre of the rad, and then lean it towards me, centre of the bracket, a little mark, and centre of the bracket, a little mark there, just on the top of the rad so you can see where you're at. Then we'll centre this wall off, mark low down because the rad will then cover it, a little point on the wall that's the centre, which we can line up with the centre of the rad, and then we can work out exactly where the brackets are going to go so that this rad is bang in the centre of this wall. So as you can see, I've just put a tiny little pencil mark here, which is the centre. Line that up with the centre of the rad, like so, and then we can just mark like that where these marks are for the rad brackets. So we've got one there and one there. Then we can whip the rad out of the way and mark up for the brackets. So this is how I mark the rad up, but there's going to be so many different ways people do it. I have the rad there, tape measure on the floor, and I measure up to the top of the bracket, so it's 520, and then we just work out the height we want it. It's quite a high skirt in here, so the rad will probably just sit off the skirt in there to that point. So what we can do is we can either measure to the bottom of the tape measure, or mark it, so it's going to be 7 inches to the bottom of the rad. And we can mark the wall, like so, and then we can measure at 520 up, and just mark that, like so. And then all we've got to do is level that line across for the other bracket, take the vertical line up, which is here, and then set the brackets into position. So as you can just make out, we've got the vertical line there, side of the brackets there, and then the rad bracket will now just sit on that line there to the bottom. Mark it up, get the other one marked up, drill them to the wall, and it's ready for the rad to go on. So that's the brackets on the wall. Now, in the package you get with radiators, you always get the 4 little lugs that sit in the little sleeve on the radiator to stop the radiator sort of rattling around on the bracket. Now, sometimes you get these things. Now, they are to clip onto the rad bracket to hold the rad to stop it coming up. Now, the best thing I've found to do with these is that, because I have never used them, and I've been to a rad once that's got them on, and it pissed me off that much, I think I ended up ripping the rad off because they just wouldn't unclip. Ripping the rad off, cutting them off, and re-hanging the rad. So I always chuck them in the bin because they're a complete waste of time. I don't know anybody that has ever fitted them. So we'll get the lugs in, get the rad on, get the vents made up in the top, get the valves put in the bottom, give that a bit of a hoover, and then we can mark the floorboards, get the pipework in, and back to that position over there. So I've been using Loctite 55 for probably a couple of years now, since someone, funny enough, I used to use PTFE tape and paste, but someone said give Loctite 55 a try and see how you get on, and I have done. I'm putting too many reels on now, but I think it says 8 times round, but I've always done it that little bit more. And what I like with this is it comes with like a paste already in the weave, if that makes sense. So yeah, Loctite 55, pop it in, tighten it up, and can then get the valve on. Right, just put the pencil in. You can get a little adapter to do this, but I always just drop this little pencil in, line it up vertically, and from that side as well, and just mark the floor where it's got to go. Sod's law, this is going to come through right on that joint between the 2 boards. So what we'll do, we'll get this board up, check there's nothing underneath it, then I'll put it back down, drill them 2 holes out, that one and that one, and then we can have 2 pipes coming straight up out there. And then what I'll probably do is come, I'm not too sure where these are going to go. It looks like it bends that way. Hopefully we can get onto it somewhere around there, but we never know. And I'm just hoping there's not a joist underneath here, because I've had it sometimes where you either get nailed by a joist this way or like a trimmer that the wall's been sat on. So let's get this board up and see what we're up against. As I said, we're going to connect onto this rad here. We're going to get a board up. Now I've spotted this one has already been up. So whenever you're doing anything floorboard wise, if there's ever a board that's been up and it's easy to get back up, whip it up and it will sometimes reveal what you want to know. So here is these 2 heating pipes that are coming across to feed this rad. So that means we can get this board up. I just wanted to check what was underneath it. So what I'll do is cut this here, and then I'll get the rest of that board up there, and then we can run the pipes along there and connect into those heating pipes as they are at the minute. So when you are going to get a board up, just pop your hand under, if you can, pop your hand under to make sure there's no pipes or cables running under there. So we clear that side, and it looks like someone's put a little temporary bit of timber in here. So if we just trim across there, as I say, because it's not within them joists, they've just put that little bit of trimmer in there to support that board that we've taken out. So we'll whip that out, get that out, and see where we're at. That's them boards up there, and we've got the first one up, and now we've got the full length one up there. Now, one of the first things I was ever taught when I started my plumbing apprenticeship was, whenever you take a floorboard up, de-nail it. Get these nails straight out of the board, because if you're working in a house, you get a board up and you just chuck it like that, and a poor electrician comes past and treads on it, you'll soon start crying when one of them go through his feet. And I'll be honest, I've done it. I've trodden on a board that's not been de-nailed. So always de-nail the boards. Right, I'll get that done. Then what I'm going to do is offer the board back in, and now we know there's nothing underneath, drill them 2 holes out, and then we can whip the board back up again, get it notched, get some pipe work in, and get the tails up. So I've placed 2 bits of copper in position where we're going to go with it, just to show you how I mark the joists. So because we're going to come off the side of the rad here, we're going to have obviously 2 pipes there, and then this one will go up to the far end. So just put them into position there, and then pencil mark either side, a little bit of gap where we can get the clips on. Same there, and then obviously with this one, we just cut them out with the multi-tool, and get those 2 pipes into position, get the rad on, get them connected, and then we can just concentrate them down there. And as I said, we'll just drop the pressure out of the system, and we should be able to get onto them pipes fairly straightforward. He says, touch wood. Right, we're ready now to get this pipe work in. All I'm going to do here is bring down a length of pipe down there, like so, with an elbow on, and then all we've got to do is put it into position, mark up this bit here, mark this pipe along here, cut it, and that'll be that one in. So, it's as straightforward as that. So let's pop some flux inside there. Now, people always say, why have you not got a flux brush? I've never, ever used a flux brush. Don't know why, just the way I've always done it. So, we'll get that like so, and we'll get it soldered up. So we'll then offer that into place this way, mark it up, put a little pencil mark on there, like so, pencil mark on there, And then we can offer that exactly where it's going to go and trim this pipe down to suit. Just pop some paste on that like so. And then while we're here, we'll pop a bit of flux in the pipe, the elbow, and the pipe there. And then it can all go in one. Perfect. So we'll just nip them two fittings up just to hold the pipe in place. And then we can just run some solder into that elbow, tighten it up, and that's that end done. And we'll do the same down there. So that is the rad connected up, this side, that side, soldered up, and we've got the pipework over to here. So we've got to connect on to these two. So they're coming out, obviously, and we'll connect onto them with our reducers. Now, I think it's 10mm. Sure it's 10mm. It's offering olive up. 10mm and 8mm are so close. No. It's 8mm. 8mm pipe. Horrible stuff. So how I always, oh shit. So what we've got to do is connect onto these two 8mm. So we'll go now downstairs to the boiler, drop the pressure out the boiler, see if we can open a rad downstairs. I haven't even looked to see if there's a drain off. Hopefully there is. If not, we'll take the pressure off it and snatch it because we've got compression fittings. But we'll go down first, check, get the pressure dropped out and see if we can do it that way. So here's the boiler. It is an old Green Star high flow CDI combi. So we've got the filling loop here, we've got the pressure gauge there. So I was hoping to have a little drain off on there, but there isn't. So we'll pop and see if we can find one on a rad anywhere. So the bedroom is just above here, so it would be quite handy. I think what I'm going to do, there's no drain offs on it, but what I'm going to do is get a bucket under this rad here and drop the water out here and just take the top off the system, and then we can solder it up, get it all into position, and then have the aquavac there ready and suck anything out and just quickly grab it on with them compression fittings. So let's grab a tub out of the van and let's at least drain some water out and take the pressure off from that rad. So because the system is that sort of old, and a lot of the valves and the TRVs and the lock shields, I just really don't want to start disturbing them. So heating's off. I've got my bucket there. We've got our little NERAD funnel here. These are really handy. They're basically like a rubber mat funnel with a metal, I need a new one to be fair, with a little metal thing inside. But it means that you can bend it and shape it to however you want, which is perfect for getting under things like this and just letting the water drip into the bowl. So we'll crack this nut here, take the pressure off the system, and then I'm going to go upstairs, get it ready upstairs, and just make it so that we're just cutting them to 8mm and putting the connector on. It's going to be the easiest way to do it, I think. So let's start by cracking this and getting some water out and getting the pressure off the system. So there we go, we've cracked it, we're just letting it run out, and I'll just keep an eye on the boiler down the end. The pressure gauge is dropping, and it's going to take the pressure out of the system. So we've had the tail on that rad opened up for a good 5 minutes now, and as you can see, the pressure on the boiler has completely dropped. So what we'll do, just drain a little bit of more water out of it, then we'll empty this bucket, and then we'll go upstairs to above here, and we'll prep the pipework ready to go into where we're going to cut into them 2 heating pipes. Then when that's done, we'll open the 2 tails up, which will probably drag in a little bit of air into just that little part, and we can cut the 2 couplers on, and we should be ready to go because the water is slowing down here. Right, I've put the 2 bits of pipe in there, and I've got the 2 couplers on there. Then we can just cut these 2 8mm there, and same that side there. And as we cut them, because they're only 8mm, it's not going to be much water pressure, if any, because we've dropped the top off. So let's just go downstairs, double check the water's really slowed down there. Then we can open up the 2 valves here, and it will take the water, it will take the pressure completely out of them 2 pipes. So what's key here is cutting into these pipes. They're not technically live as it is at the minute because we've took the pressure off the system, we've drained the rad below, and the water has stopped coming out of that rad. So when we open these 2 valves up, you'll hear the water gurgle through, and it's just protecting yourself because the water's dropping down. We've got the aquavac right next to here, just in case something goes wrong, and we can just drag the water away. Worst case scenario, you just bang your thumb over the end and squash together the 8mm pipe, and that will give you enough time to go and sort it out. But it's not something I'd do if you're not confident. I've done it hundreds of times. I know how it's going to play out, but I just wanted to say, because I know someone will come out in the comments going, it's upstairs, it's under pressure, it's this, that and the other. The pressure's gone, we've drained it down, we're just sort of cutting into what will probably be dead pipe work. Let's get our little mini microball cutter out of the bag. Tiny little Monument cutter. Is it Monument? Tiny little Rothenberg cutter. And let's cut these pipes and get them connected into this rad. So let's do this one first. We can see roughly about where we want to cut it. So we'll get the little microball cutters on it. And try not to cover the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So yeah, so just hold that out of the way. I've got a little microball cutters on there. We're going to cut through this pipe and get the nut and olive, which is just here ready to go, and get it tightened back up. I'll just pop a towel underneath these pipes just in case we get a dribble of water come out, because we've got cable. In fact, I'll move that junction box completely out of the way. So there we go. We've got a towel underneath, and we've got the wet vac right next to us. So let's carry on getting it cut. Bit of a squeeze. There you go. If you can hear that, that's the water just sucking back on itself, so we know it'll be all right. So we just get the nut and olive on. It's quite a good suction on that actually. And we'll put, as always, just get it on my finger actually, a little bit of paste around there. You can hear the water going into the rads downstairs. There we go. And get it tightened up onto there. Nice and tight. Right, it's the first one done, and we do exactly the same for the second one. Bit of paste on it. And then into the fitting. Get it tightened up. And then we can go downstairs. Once this is tight, we'll go downstairs, reconnect that radiator up, and repressurise the system. turn the heating on and check that our new rad is A, not leaking, and B, getting nice and warm. That's the 2 heating pipes connected. Yes, I've upscaled into 15mm just because it looks a lot neater going to this rad. So let's go downstairs, reconnect that rad and get the pressure top back up in the system, vent the rads and get the heating on. So that's the system all filled up, all the fittings are fine, rad's now full, and I've just turned the heating on to get some heat circulating around the system while I have a bit of a tidy up, get the boards back down, and then we can just make sure all the rads are getting hot. And then that's about it on this one. There we go, all heat tested, it's coming nice and warm. We've got the floor back down, got the boards back down, got the pressure top back up in the boiler, everywhere is vented, topped up with a little bit more inhibitor just to keep on top of things. So yeah, a straightforward enough rad swap or move and connecting into that 8mm there. So, hope you've enjoyed it. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop me a comment below, and I will catch you on the next one.